Hello guys, in this playlist we're gonna play around with Tkinter, which is extremely capable Python module that will help you to create all kind of very slick, professionally looking graphical interfaces. So let's do that by Tkinter import. But there is a problem here. If you say import Tkinter, then down there in the code, if your script becomes big enough, you need to say Tkinter do this, Tkinter do that. So the better option is actually to use from Tkinter import everything. And that thing is actually more often used by many programmers because it's just time saver. So from Tkinter import everything. And now we can spawn like an empty blanco widget, top level widget, and actually they're using that terminology in documentation. How to do that? Well, we're going to call dedicated primary class TK. Please note uppercase T here. And we don't need to use any kind of arguments by default. So brackets without arguments. And yeah, let's do that, but we're gonna play around. Why not? Let's be childish. Let's experiment. We're gonna immediately create 5 applications with the for loop. So for x in range, for example, we need the 5 applications. Now we are going to call TK 5 times. So 5 graphical interfaces immediately just for fun. Why not? F5 to run stuff. And there you go, guys, we have our result. How awesome is that? Of course that this is not too much usable, but it's kind of fun, so why not? Right, so here's the thing. Let's give a name for our top level widget because we need that name because we're gonna operate a lot on that top level widget. So you can call it whatever you like a top, like a Windows, window, whatever you like. I'm gonna use top win here as a name for that widget. And how to create it? Well, uppercase T, we're going to call that class and F5. And there you go, guys, same result like a couple of seconds ago. But the thing here is that you need to track what users are doing, what is happening with buttons and labels and forms and stuff like that. So you need to get into loop here, like a check loop at the end of script. How to do that? Well, you're going to target that widget, top window, and you're going to use dedicated method which is main loop. So how to think about this? Well, just imagine that this is like a HTML page, and you know you need to type HTML here and then you need to close it down there. So it's like a same stupid analogy, something like that, but it's kind of useful to understand stuff. You need to open it, you need to close it in HTML words, and of course this thing will work. No problems. Okay, so let's create a button. When we press it, when we want to activate function that will print something on a screen, like in graphical interfaces. So first thing is we need to import another file, and that is actually dedicated Python file, which is messagebox.py. So let's do that. We're gonna import from Tkinter that message box file, and we're gonna give it a handle because we don't need to type it that much, so as MB. So this is just a nickname, just an alias for that thing. And where is that thing actually? Well, let's go to file and to library in our Python directory. Let's find Tkinter, and here this init thing is, let me actually find that, I want to confirm that. See, up here. So Tkinter is in init.py. Let's just briefly think about that in that way. And if you open this thing is huge, like 117 kilobytes. So if you open it in Notepad or whatever you have, we're talking about wrapper functions for TCL/TK, and you have many options here. You can create frames and labels and entries and text and canvases and stuff like that. So just check how that thing is big. So many functionalities at your disposal, and we're talking just about one file here. So this file is like 5,000 lines, just this initial file, let's say. Okay, so this is Tkinter, like primary file. So the question is, what about that message box? Well, if you go to message box here, that's it. So let's open that thing. Let's open it with Notepad 2, and here you have explanation. Those things are common message box, like pop-ups. So it will provide you all kind of options. You can show informations on a page, you can show warnings and errors, and you can ask questions with OK or cancel options. You can ask yes or no, or yes or no with cancel, and all kind of stuff. And actually you have that in documentation. See? Normal informations like show info and warnings and errors, and you have a very short brief list here. But guys, this is dedicated Python file, 4 kilobytes, well, at least for now. Right, so now you know where to search for more like a code if you wanna experiment. Where I was? Yeah, I need to create method. So yeah, def, or like a name for method, will be do something without any kind of parameters for now, just a very simple pop-up. In a JavaScript terminology, call it alert, and then we are going to use that MB message box, which is a handle for this big thing, and from that we are going to use show info. And yeah, so let's type that mb.show info, and now we need to pass it like a couple of things. The first will be title for pop-up, and let's just call it I don't know, like title. Why not? It is self-explanatory. And then you need to use another string which is usable text, usable information for end user, which will be I don't know, like a lorem ipsum stuff. Who cares, guys? Who cares? This is just a test. Okay, so now how to call that method, because if you run your code, nothing's gonna happen pretty much. Yes, you have top level widget, but you don't have button because we didn't create it. Okay, so let's create the button. We're gonna say the name of that thing will be but1, and we're gonna activate a button here, and now we need to pass it couple of things. First, where that button is. Well, it must be positioned in a top window, in a top widget. So let's target it here, top window, and now we need to give it some kind of name, like what will be printed in the center of that box. So text equals like yeah, something like that, name for button, and now we need to connect that button with a method. So how to do that? Will you just type comma here and then name of method? Well, no, because you must type command here. This is part of Tkinter. Command and then equal, and then you will put name of that method right here without brackets. You don't need to use brackets here. So do something, and now you have connection between button and between function, because method and the button, they are like independent entities, so you must have command here to connect these things. Right. So when we are done, will that work? Well, F5 and nothing. Why? Because it is not enough to have button, you need to place it somewhere on a screen. So let's do that with button 1. We are targeting that primary only one button now, and we're going to use place method, and now we need to tell it where we want that button in general top level C widget. So how to do that? Well, we are going to say that start of button will be at 2 pixels horizontally and 2 pixels vertically. So these are coordinates. And now when we run our script, pretty much we do have like a button, but the problem is, see this like size of applications, these things are small. So how to higher dimensions of that application? Well, here we must use geometry method for top level widget. Top win, that is our target, and let's set the size of that application. Go geometry, and you can check for that in documentation. Basically you have it, no problems. And now we need to say as a string, guys, as a string, as a green stuff, for example 500 pixels times 500 pixels will be size of our applications. Now make a note, here we have a string green stuff, but down there for button we have x and y coordinates. So this is reality, this is the things, just make a mental note about that. So let me run this stuff, and hopefully we're gonna have big application right now. F5, and there you go, guys, it is bigger. Now let's click on yeah to see what's up. There you go, we have Popup, which is created through show info from message box functionality. And make a note, title works, lorem ipsum is in center of Popup, and the button name is yeah. Let me confirm that one more time, and when you click on it, there you go, confirmation. Title, fine. Usable content, let's say, fine. Name of button, fine. Okay. Now let's briefly talk about coordinates of this button. Now see this a little bit of pixels here. This tells us that starting point of button, like coordinate, is upper top level corner. So we are not talking about that or that or that. This is a starting point, upper left corner of your top widget. How I know that? Well, if I say here 0 and 0, now the button will be glued to totally upper left corner. See, it is totally glued. So just make a note that when you set coordinates, we are talking about upper left corner of button and upper left corner of top level widget. How I know that? Well, let's use something insane, like 200 pixels for y and x for a button, 1, and now when I run it, there you go, guys, you have confirmation. So from here to here we have 200%, I mean pixels, and from here to here we have 200 pixels. Not to center of a button, not to right position, like bottom right corner, we are talking about upper left corner. So that's a thing to note, because you will create over time many buttons and you need to know about coordinates. So let me stick with something like, I don't know, 5 pixels maybe let me check how that will look. Yeah, bearable, let's say bearable, 5 pixels from now on. Okay, guys, I'm gonna shut up in this tutorial because it's a lot of things to digest, but let me repeat a couple of times. Use a couple of things. Use this line to save on typing. Use this line to activate dedicated file so you can have message box. We have alias to do that. When you create application, you need to activate top level like a class, top level widget, and you need to have name for that. Then set the size of application, then close down their main loop, then create a dedicated method that will be connected with a dedicated button. Task of this method is just to print stuff on a screen with a show info method from here, and you can use many of these, and you need to pass it at a minimum title and some kind of usable content. When you are done with the method, create a button. Of course, you must always use this, it is part of documentation. Then target the place of that button, its top window, and then have a name for it, and then connect a button with method. And when you have that, then place that thing, and you are done for this tutorial. Let me repeat one more time. Will that work? Yeah, it works. There you go. Thank you for watching. As always, thank you for support and subscription. See you in next tutorial, and we're gonna have many. Okay? See you there.